What's up, YouTube? We are back, but this time we are with Kilos with Kieran, and we have got No Rule Nutrition, and
Hey
we're going to be
guys.
talking about how you can best prep for the upcoming March Mayhem competition. Boom! Take it away.
Am I going for, am I
Yeah.
going
So
first?
now we'll do it as questions.
That's very interesting.
Firstly, give yourself a brief intro, Luke, so people know who you are and what you do.
Hey guys, I am Luke Bastick. I am co-owner of Noble Nutrition. We provide a service to everyone and anybody who's willing to dive into bettering themselves through good nutritional protocols. And whether they are a person who wants to be fit for life or they're an elite athlete, we design a blueprint that
Suits.
basically complements their life. And that's basically it.
That's
That's
it.
how we
And
work.
then, how long have we been working together now?
I think we've been working for what, 8 months, 7 months?
It's epic. Yeah, since off the back of Ragnarok.
Yeah,
So basically, Luke realized my nutrition was absolute shit,
I
and
get it.
then started fixing my nutrition, and now here we are,
yeah.
just missing out on qualification of the French Throwdown, guys. You know, oh, hopefully we can get in there with some nutrition and flip the leaderboard around, but I'm not going to rely on it. So yeah, today basically we'll go through what you should be doing over the next sort of week and a half to get ready for Battle for Middle Grounds, and then also comp day nutrition, and yeah, how you can maximize that. So, Luke, we are a week and a half out. Imagine, let's presume people are going to listen to this the week before. It's the most applicable. You're a week out from Battle for Middle Grounds. Talk us through it. What are you doing?
Okay, in regards to a week before you're actually doing your comp and how you should deliver your nutrition, okay, the week before, nothing drastic should change with your nutrition, okay? You shouldn't be, when we talk about phases with nutrition, you shouldn't be in a body composition phase because you don't want to be in a calorie deficit leading up to obviously a competition because then you're obviously your body's not producing enough energy, so you need to be on at least a maintenance, and the maintenance is your baseline of how much you should eat to maintain your bodily systems. Okay, so that's number one. Make sure that you're eating enough and you're eating a maintenance. Now, how do you know without tracking that you're eating a maintenance intake? Usually it should be, if you, for instance, know that your weight is settling and you eat what you normally do, then that's basically your maintenance. Okay, so the week before with your nutrition of what you should do, so hit a good quantity amount that maintains your bodily systems. Also, you need to look on stuff like stress metrics, central nervous system, everything like that. Your obviously volume of training should be coming down, right? If you have
When you say stress metrics, what do you mean?
so stress metrics, that means like if we shouldn't be partying, we shouldn't be sort of if you're just like on the sofa till 1 a.m. in the morning watching TV, like you're just downplaying your recovery signals. So just be a bit more accurate when I talk about stress metrics. Just be a bit more accurate with making sure that you put extra effort into, like, and I know it seems boring, but going to bed early, make an extra effort into hydration, making sure that stress metrics in terms of socializing are under control. Like before any competition, you're not gonna want to travel to the other side of the country and organize or go if you really want to do well at the comp, organize a massive family do. Like one, there's too much distractions there if there's alcohol and stuff like that, and two is you're just creating further stress on your body because you're doing everything the same. You're having to train still, you're having to work still, everything like that. So if you can sort of put
Taper that.
limitations, yeah, put limitations on things that are going to stress your body out more. Now, In terms of also the week before with your nutrition, okay, it's very important you to be structured, okay? Like, I'm not necessarily talking about macronutrient timings, I'm just talking about your meal structure, because you want to create your body and your hunger signals being consistent. Because if you just randomly eat through the day, every day is different because of work or something like that, then you're going to get random hunger signals, right? So
Mm.
if you have, for instance, Chaz, when we started working together and your weeks could look different. Sometimes you would have 3,000 calories in the evening, and sometimes they would be a lot more structured throughout the day. Now, when you have random eating patterns, then you get random signals, and the next morning you be like, F that, I'm not eating because I had X amount the night before. So,
Mm.
regular eating patterns are really important, and obviously, helps with like digestive and just gut health, everything like that.
Yeah. And then, so say if Kilos or I were competing at this point, what would a typical, if you were to give like a rough outline of what we would probably consume a day? I guess we sort of did this in the build up to Proving Grounds as well. What would you be looking for our day to look like nutrition wise?
What in terms of how much
Like
to
on paper, what would you suggest that we'd be eating?
so obviously where I know, especially you, Chaz, I'd be like, okay, well, where is our current upper limit with our maintenance intake? And we
Hmm.
know with you it's around 4,000 calories. Okay, and then naturally, this is a week before. This is not the week during the competition. So this is a week before the competition. So naturally, we would hit 4,000 calories. We'd make sure that your protein is around for you that 220, 230 gram daily marker. But also, we'd make sure that we would set your calories at a training day every day. So your training, it would be like your training nutrition. Okay, so your fats would be slightly lower and your carbohydrates would be slightly higher within the ranges of what we would want to hit. Because obviously, we want to, your intensity is still going to be there, the volume is going to be down, but we still want to be storing glycogen for recovery and everything like that. Okay, so in terms of that week, our focus is on making sure within your high maintenance is getting the carbs as high as we can get it, moderating the fats, so making sure that we are keeping them controlled. So you have that consistent energy, and we're also storing energy as well.
And then when you talk about carbs, how many grams of carbs per kilo of body weight?
So for, it obviously really depends on the person, but like for you, we want to be like shooting at around that 700 marker.
And then tapering that down 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah. So this is we're talking about like at the start of the week when we're thinking about carb loading and everything like this. So for actual carb loading protocols for your nutrition, what we want to do is we want to obviously jack that up really high and use as less volume food groups as possible. Like obviously we want to use starchy carbs, but we can't get 800 to 900 grams of carbohydrates within that through sweet potatoes. So we want to just take veg, take all that fiber out of your diet, and then make sure that we are just, even if we got to use stuff like malt loaf, Haribo, orange juice, just calorie dense carbohydrates to be able to hit that upper range. And we would do that for around 2 days. It's different. It differs to people and people's preferences. Some people, which sometimes you're in the camp because you're a heavier athlete, is some people only like to carb load for one day because they feel more light, more nimble, and their body settles down for the competition. But we always carb load at least 3 or 4 days away from the competition.
I'm not sure if Chaz said to you, Luke, but I think after Proving Grounds, when we did our carb load, we both felt like quite slow and sluggish on the first event specifically,
Yeah.
and like you said, every nutrition is like personal to everyone and everyone varies. So I don't know if we just hadn't done it before properly. So like it's just an experimental thing, I guess. Figuring what's
100%.
best for you.
It's very much like nutrition. The reason why we called our company No Rule Nutrition is because like it's hypothesis. Every person's unique and every person can react. There's always, when we look at nutrition, there's an action to what we do, so we consume food, and there's always a reaction to what we're consuming, right? And we just go on the averages of the reactions of what we're having, right? But everyone's different. Everyone reacts differently, and we just need to make it as bespoke to the person as possible. Now, when we're talking about carb loading, okay, like we still need to use our, like you said, kilos, still need to use our intuition. If we feel full, if we feel lethargic, like, and like a different level of full where we're like, I'm just trying to just shove it in my mouth and stuff like that, you're either using the food groups wrong, meaning you're using two nutrient dense food groups. And when I talk about nutrient dense food groups, I mean like sweet potatoes, really volumized food groups, or heavy fibers, which you shouldn't be. Or you should just, intuition, you should just take it down and stop. Because there's no point in consuming quantity, right? And then it not working. Because you either it feel lethargic, feel sick, and it will put your metrics out for the next day. So it's very much also using your head and making the right call.
What is
On it.
the reason behind keeping fibers low and taking vegetables and stuff out of your diet when you're doing that?
That's a great question. So the reason why we do that, because we need to make room for the carbohydrates to be processed. Now, fiber goes into your through your large intestine, everything like that, and it doesn't break down. Okay, so it's like it's a health protocol to obviously help clear out the stomach and everything like that. So we don't need to fill up the stomach with that. Like it slows down digestion way too much. So we pull fibers out to make your body absorb the extra carbohydrates that we'll be using as such. So within the week of competition, like fiber's not really a thing that we should go for at all because
So is that you're basically saying you're getting like the most out of all the carbs that you're consuming rather than just
100%, and it digesting, which is super important as well, because if you're, that's why we also taper fats, because fats take twice as long to digest. And if we're trying to eat this volume of food, like foods which are energy and carbohydrates, well, that's our priority. Okay, if we then throw fats and fibers, too much fat and too much fiber in the mix, it's like a funnel. It's just going to block. It's too heavy. Whereas carbohydrates need to go in, need to process, need to then be stored to be utilized, rather than it being like backlogged. If that makes sense.
yeah?
So yeah, and similar, like it's refining stuff. So like without without like criticizing like mistakes that we've used in the past, but even like little things. Like I remember speaking to you, Chaz, and like you had your haircut, right? And whilst you were having your haircut, right, and this is not, this is like just learning curves. You had like breaded chicken takeaway bites. Now, when you look at that, like when you look at that, right? Hey, that's absolutely fine away from like that vicinity of competition. But I'm putting 800 to 900 grams of carbs in you, right? And then you're having them to get your protein in, but there's also 50 grams of fat in that because it's deep fried. So
Yeah.
that is in one tiny section of a meal, 50 grams of fat, and I set you 80 grams of fat for your total day to hit, and
We
that
can
is
never let
like
that go.
that's like 55, the 55% of your fat intake is in these little chicken nuggety things. So without
So
like outing you right there, like there's just all these stuff that we can refine for next time.
Yeah, that'll be
so
an
And
incredible clip.
so you're saying that Wingstop lost us proving grounds?
I'm saying it's like feeling lethargic and heavy and stuff like that. Is there's always stuff that we can do better. And like, hey, like I'm when I compete, I make mistakes, right? Like I will, for instance, panic and load up too much on carbohydrates, and it won't go well for me. Like it's all trial and error. That's what nutrition is, and then you get data from it and go tick, that works, cross, that
Yeah.
works, chicken fillets out.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking, like, I mean, it's a bit of an obvious one because you probably shouldn't have been eating them, but like when Chaz said, I feel lethargic, he could have stopped, had a think about what he ate, and then be like, oh yeah, shouldn't have chicken nuggets, chicken
Yeah.
tendies covered in buffalo sauce.
It's all learning curves, right?
Yeah. Learning
It's,
curve and
it's,
willpower.
it's even little things, and like I'm giving Chaz an example. I hope he doesn't mind, right? But I'm giving an example because people will have they have different personality types, right? And we even nutrition it's so vast that we need to look at every like sector. We need to look at their quantity, their quality, their lifestyle, their personality. And when we were when we were watching Proving Ground, right? You two are giving your utmost stress to perform, right? But then, because of your personality, you're like in the breaks and stuff like that, hyped because you're around people and you're like branding yourself, everything like that. And then, like Chaz, you're like to me, I've got headaches. I'm like, because you're maximizing you're maximizing your performance and absolutely gun ho in it, cortisol at its highest, and then you come off and your recovery is like, let's go, and like speaking to everyone, which is not a problem. But do you see what we do? And now, when we spoke last time, Chaz, we go, hey, like let's just implement going outside of the arena for 15 minutes, clear your head, get out of the music, everything like that, so these headaches won't go there. Um,
Please.
and and people will be like that, right? And this is why I'm saying it, because if you're coming up to March Mayhem and you're like really you're there and you're like, fuck, I really need to give a good performance in, and you're doing your first event and then you get that out and done, and then you're like just running about the arena and then you wonder why you burnt out, like, hey, just take
Gotta
yourself out
relax.
for 15 minutes.
Gotta relax, brother. You gotta get out of there.
Yeah. So, in terms of, do you mind if I talk about like the little nitty gritty things of the week that people
Yeah,
should
go
think
for it.
about?
The secret sauce, we'll call this. This is the best stuff that you're probably about to hear. Is the secret sauce, not the wing stop, not any of that shit. This is the secret to feeling good on competition day.
So, we spoke about 1 or 2 days of carb loading, and then obviously you want to, for competition week, you want to then return to your normalized eating. Still take fiber out, but your the way that you eat on normal training days, as such. But a really important thing as well is to make sure that, like, just little things, like, obviously, and this is like the top percent that I find that works with people. It's like if you take dairy out, well, 72% of us are um, have an intolerant to dairy, or 75% have an intolerant to dairy, and that may be a raised heart rate, it may be little inflammation markers, it may be skin, something like that. Now, we just, if we pull that out, not like totally, but pull it out compared to what we had before, then you're helping your body not send red flags or red flag signals around it to slow down and stuff like that. So that's like another thing that really, some clients are really like sort of, it's aided towards them. Also, it's like coffee consumption as well.
Yeah, we
Like,
spoke about this a lot. This is good.
yeah. So the week before, like if you have 3 or 4 coffees a day, well, we want to preserve your cortisol levels. So if you take it, obviously having a coffee is a stimulant, you take that down. You're resting your say that fight or flight and that cortisol levels until when you need it, and then you actually become more sensitive to the stimulant the night before when you start taking it again. Obviously, still have one just for to move your bowels and stuff like that, but just look at little bits like that. But obviously, the framework around there will always be making sure that we get good quantity amount, making sure that we look at our stress metrics, making sure that we're hydrated, and then we can start to move into the nitty gritty things of, hey, pulling dairy out, lowering your coffee intake, everything like that.
I saw it was a weightlifter, Dozer weightlifting guy. He said not to do with nutrition, but to do with like lowering your uh, reaction to stimulants and stuff. And like the week before like a competition, he would always train like without music or in like a quiet environment, so that he felt kind of like low and bored and a bit like just not down, but just like not like stimulated. So then when he came to competition weekend, and you put back the caffeine in and you have the music on and everything, you're like,
Yeah, you're sensitive to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Take
ready
some.
to unleash.
that's
Take
got me
a
fired up.
take a double scoop of what's it, NO Explode, and you'll be absolutely rocket fuel, ready
Yeah.
to go. Do you want to talk about around
Yeah, I was about to say now. So we've
competition
taken care of the
weekend?
week. Now we're on to the competition day. So
So,
we'll set the scene. You wake up 6 a.m. It's go
okay,
time.
perfect. So normal registration and stuff like that is 8 a.m., right? So you want to, my first tip would be just have your usual training breakfast. So whether you're in an Airbnb, whether you're in a hotel or whatever, don't change stuff. It's just too much risk. Some people have like totally different breakfast or first meal what they would normally have, and then they feel pretty shit. So take all risk out of doing any new food groups or anything like that. Okay, so stay with your same breakfast of what you're having. Okay, some little like tips and tricks to add more carbohydrates if you feel you need it. It's just like half a pint of orange juice with your breakfast. What else can you do? Like Biscoff spread with your oats. Like just little things like that. What you're creating, your hunger signals are not going to be there because you started competing that morning, right? Because you're nervous. Butterflies equal high cortisol. High cortisol equals your hunger levels won't be there. So you just want to make sure that the volume is low, but the impact of calories and carbohydrates are high, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, also hydrate as well. Like I keep on banging on about hydration, but if you hydrate well in the morning, take some hydration powder, then obviously follow it up with some water, and then you're not trying to bang water in 10 minutes before you're supposed to go out in your first event, and it all sloshing around in your stomach. So that would be morning protocols for competition day. So also on competition day, okay, is nerves are going to be there. Okay, so make sure that before the first event, just sip on some Lucozade, like have that placebo effect of it's not really for the carbohydrates, it's for the sugar around your lips, trick your body into like going, hey, like everything's going to be okay. I've got energy.
Yeah. So then let's talk about, I guess, after your first event, because usually, or let's say hypothetically, you're doing like a fitness based event to start with, and you've got your lifting event second, and then two more events to follow that. How are you fueling sort of in and around those? What are you having? Because again, when you first came across me, I was sat in the cafe of wherever it was, the agricultural centre, eating oats, and you're
Yeah,
like, what a fucking idiot.
yeah. I was like, I think it was more like the quantity. Like it was so low. I was like, that has already been burnt off. You just talking right now. Um, but no, in terms of what you should do after your first event, all right, I want to stress over the competition, if it's a day or 2 days, the hard work with your food should have been done in your carb loading at the start of the week. So when you're doing the competition, you're just topping up your glycogen system and you're just trying to refeed your body to repair like central nervous system and tell your body it's okay. So what I tend to do with my athletes, you guys, is we start to lower cortisol levels by having some Lucozade. That wakes up the digestive system again, okay? Liquid, because you don't want to be throwing solids down you. Do you remember they were talking of Ragnarok? Do you remember the first workout? It was savage. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
thrusting,
Thrusters, bar muscle ups, and
box
box
jumps,
jumps.
right?
Yeah.
And it killed everyone. Can you imagine trying to eat like chicken and rice or chicken and pasta after that? It's just not going to happen, right? So wake up the digestive system with Lucozade. Then see how your stomach feels. You know, kilos when we spoke about intuition. Like this is where you use your
Yeah.
intuition. You go, right, how do I feel right now? If you feel good, have some gummies, okay? Because then you'll go into more jelly, right, rather than pure solids. And if you feel good after that, then have a squares bar or two. And then straight away, within that volume of carbohydrates, you've got 30 to 40 grams in your Lucozade. You've got 40 to 50 grams in your sweets, and then you got another 40 grams into your square bars, and it's really low volume, but it's still 110, 120 grams of carbs, like literally over nothing, and that's enough to restore your central nervous system and your body. And
And
it's
let's just rinse and repeat that sort of after each event.
exactly that, rinse and repeat. And you'll know, like, you get people whose central nervous systems are fried and they haven't eaten properly, or they've had that big bowl of pasta and it hasn't kicked in yet, which is ridiculous. And they're still on when they do their second event and they're doing their strength one, they're like that. They look like it's got Parkinson's because their central nervous system's absolutely fried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I was
that's
going
it.
to ask that on the comp day. This is something I've always never really known. Around like lunchtime, so when you normally have like an actual meal, would you still have that meal? Would you replace it with what you've just kind of said, the squares, bars, and stuff, or?
Yeah, it depends. That's a great question. So when you're talking about that lunch break with competitions, it if it was a 1 day comp, right, and if you had 2 hours until your next event, right, then yes, go for something solid. Make sure we go through the protocols of having no veg in it and everything like that. But also, there's really no need if you don't want to. You could just have a bagel and some jam or biscoff or some malt loaf. Like when we talk about like even 2 day comps, like you have either ends of the day. You have morning and night where you start to restore protein markers, like typical balanced food groups, like at night it may be chicken and rice or even pizza, like
Nando's.
Nando's, yeah, whatever you fancy. They're more sort of balanced macronutrients as such. But through the day, all you're thinking about is just carbohydrates. Like you're not thinking about your body as such. You're not thinking about health. Your body can cope with its health protocols and its body composition over 1 to 2 days. So yeah, like during the day, like if you do fancy, like I know a lot of competitions do those hex sort of
Yeah,
rolls,
the
right?
hex stands.
Yeah, and it's just like
Yeah.
okay, you can restore your protein levels a little bit there, but it's just like you can literally get another 150 grams of carbohydrates in by like it's bread and it has a bit of meat in there, but you could just have bread and more carbohydrates in it and for the same size, but it be triple the amount of carbohydrates. But it's very much of how you feel.
So
Yeah.
you kind of just touched on that bit about the evening. Would you try have like a high protein meal, for example? Like would that help with recovery if you're doing a 2 day comp, or would you?
Yeah, yeah, like you would start to restore protein levels again. So obviously, when you get home and you have food or you have Nando's, you're naturally going to hit 50 to 70 grams of carbohydrate of protein in there. So yeah, like start to restore protein levels as well as carbohydrates, and then obviously naturally you're going to have fats in there which you haven't had through the day because all you focus on carbohydrates, and then you you would have, I don't know, a protein shake and a bowl of cereal before you go to bed. And straight away, with your morning, with your breakfast that you've had in the morning with a bit of protein, with the nighttime and snacks, you're still hitting 120 to 140 grams of protein anyway.
Yeah,
So,
you're not way off.
so it's not the worst thing in the world. And our focus is just making sure that we are replacing glycogen, not necessarily focus on hitting 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight.
Yeah.
So
No.
yeah, so it's just making sure that like it's quantity's king in terms of carbohydrates, and just either ends of the day is a bit more solid meals.
Hell
There you
yeah.
have it.
So yeah, so
Done it.
tell me if I spoke too fast or like
Nah, I think that
I speak about this every day. So sometimes it's just like I'm like
boom, boom,
that
boom,
with
boom.
it.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
routine. But
yeah.
I feel like that's something so many people like get wrong is like they feel like oh, like, I'm an anomaly, like it doesn't work for me, this, that, and the other, or nothing will change. I'm like, man, it's just fucking simple. Just go to someone that knows and just guess. Like it's like when you explained it to me for the first time, and then I started feeling the changes. I was like, holy shit! How was I doing what I was doing before?
Yeah.
And just
And
thinking that like this is how I feel, and just be like, yeah,
100%. And I think it's because everyone has a pattern that works for them, right? And when people go, oh, like I'm, for instance, like the most common question I get people in CrossFit and competing nutrition is like, I don't know how you can help me because I can't. Like I can't eat over the competition weekend, and I always feel like I'm going to faint, right? And it's straight away,
idiot.
yeah, and straight away you're going, okay, well that's you're thinking about because you're in that rut. Okay, my job is to problem solve and go, what's the problem? 9 times out of 10, people is what they don't know, they they won't ever want to research or find out. So most of the time, it's like, okay, they're eating too healthy foods around that sector or the competition, and it's making them feel full and lethargic. So straight away, we just make more calorie dense food straight away, and it's there's always an avenue or a road to go down for the individual to get them to the results. Like I can't make someone, if their PB snatches 100 kilos, I can't make them feel like they're going to do 150. But I can make it like you can make them feel good. You can make them feel energized, and you can make them feel recovered, right?
Yeah.
And it's the law of consistency, and it's a law of always striving towards having the correct nutritional protocols for you.
Easy. Happy
There you
days.
go.
And then one bonus thing on top of that, you and Esme will be at March Mayhem all weekend, correct?
Yes, 100%. So we have athletes there. We'll be working there. Esme will be with the camera. She does all the business side of stuff. So, and I'll be running around throwing Lucozades and Mort Loaf and jam at clients. Like
Have
literally,
some fucking jab, bosh!
yeah. But
So, yeah, if anyone has any questions, they can find you there and pull you for a chat, or just, yeah.
100%. Yeah, guys, like don't feel like come over to us, ask us. Even if like you're not working with us and you're like, oh Luke, like I don't know if this will work. What do you think? Like, come over and ask me. Like, my job and my identity is to help people. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Happy days.
100%.
Anything else, kilos, or not?
Nah, I think I've got all my questions out. Yeah.
Boom. Well, best of luck to all you guys at March Mayhem. Chaz and Kilos will be sitting on the sidelines for this one because we took a look at the competition and we were just like, it's not what we're after, you know. Like, we get our kick, we get our thrill from doing qualifiers and not going to the live event. So you know, that's the second one this year, baby. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions before the competition, shoot Luke a message. We'll put his Instagram handle in the description. And then, yeah, Chaz and Kilos to the moon, baby. Bosh.